Right, the transfer window is officially open with plenty of clubs getting straight down to business. As you can see, our reporter Mark McAdam, he's got his finger on the pulse, as always, with everything going on. We're going to be heading to Madrid shortly to speak to a Spanish football expert because big story already on day one. Marc Cucurella joining Real Madrid. Fill us in, what's going on?
Yeah, day one of the transfer window, and already we've seen a big deal get completed. It was confirmed by both Real Madrid and Chelsea earlier on today. The left-back that joined from Brighton for £62.5 million is heading to the Bernabeu. The 27-year-old Spanish international is going to be signing a long-term contract that will keep him in La Liga until June 2032. The deal is worth £47.5 million, with add-ons at £4.3 million. So Chelsea pretty much getting what they spent 4 years ago on the left-back. And, of course, Marc Cucurella will form a new era at Real Madrid. This is a new era under Jose Mourinho, and already so far this summer we've seen them really active in the transfer market. Ibrahima Konate signed for Real Madrid on a free transfer from Liverpool, Denzel Dumfries, Bernardo Silva and Cucurella. So very much the start of a new project under Mourinho as they try and challenge Barcelona, who have been dominant in La Liga over the last few years. I guess really for Chelsea fans, they'll be sad to see Cucurella go, someone that was a big part of that side, but never really was a part of an era of dominance at the football club. Obviously, Club World Cup victory and, of course, Europa Conference League, but never won FA Cup, League Cup, Premier League whilst he was there. In fact, actually, his biggest success at Chelsea was winning the Euros with Spain in 2024. But yeah, significant business, a lot of money spent already by Real Madrid as they try and rebuild, and a key member is going to be Marc Cucurella. So already, day one, big transfers happening.
Yeah, let's get into what else is going on then, because Elliot Anderson making headlines already. What is going on with his future?
I get the feeling, Joe, me and you will be talking about Elliot Anderson for a number of days and possibly even weeks, because there's no question this is going to be one of the big talking points this summer. What we understand is that both Nottingham Forest and Manchester City remain in talks over a potential deal for Elliot Anderson, who's obviously currently with Thomas Tuchel and England at the World Cup. Now, Manchester City have not been commenting on the reports suggesting that a verbal proposal was made by City to Forest. We understand that to be £120 million, which is made up from £106 million of guaranteed payments, around £14 million in additional add-ons. That, at the moment, wouldn't be a British record. However, we understand for this deal to happen, it would have to be significantly higher than that current proposal. Of course, Alexander Isak going from Newcastle to Liverpool is a British record, which is £125 million. Going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Thomas Tuchel has said quite publicly, I want my players focusing on the World Cup, not on individual club transfers. But what we do know is that the dialogue remains open between Forest and Manchester City, and they'll continue to talk about one of the most prized midfielders in world football right now. His trajectory from Newcastle to Forest is quite staggering. He's gone from being a £35 million player to a player potentially worth around £135 million, which shows just how significant this transfer could be. And one other line on Manchester City as well, Josko Gvardiol. We understand that Manchester City is close to an agreement with his camp over a new contract extension. When he joined Manchester City from Leipzig, he signed a 4-year contract. It was around £77 million. That ended in the summer of 2028. This new deal that's on the table and up for discussion should end in 2031. We know that Real Madrid, Barcelona and Bayern Munich have also been keeping tabs on Gvardiol. So the fact that Manchester City could tie him down to a new deal would be really significant for them.
What's going on with Marcus Rashford? Because his Barcelona option expires today. What does that mean for Rashford?
So when he left Manchester United, went to Barcelona on loan last season, there was a clause inserted in the deal that was an option for that to be triggered by Barcelona for them to buy Marcus Rashford for €30 million, around £26 million. However, that option expires today. Now, there are several things that could happen. One, Marcus Rashford goes back to Manchester United and forms a part of Michael Carrick's setup, which is unlikely. A new loan deal could also be discussed between Barcelona and United. Or Barcelona could say, well, look, we'd like to take Marcus Rashford, but we're not going to pay the option that was inserted into the contract, which was 30 million euros. We actually want to pay a little bit less. Let's renegotiate. On Manchester United's perspective will be, well, hang on, this is a really good player. He scored and assisted 15 times in La Liga for you last season. You went on to win La Liga title. Actually, if we put Marcus Rashford out for sale, we might be able to get more than the money you're proposing to pay. We know that Marcus Rashford has said, actually, I'd like to stay at Barcelona. I've really enjoyed my first season there, and I'd like that journey to continue. So that's why it's significant today, because that option, a clean option, no negotiation needed, this is the price you pay, full stop. That ends today. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But it feels unlikely at this stage that Barcelona will activate that. They'll want to go back to the negotiating table and say, actually, this is what we'd like to pay. So, yeah, one to keep an eye on. Today, significant though.
Yeah. What's going on with Spurs and Brighton? Because potentially we could see them trading centre half.
Yeah. Again, this is another fascinating transfer saga between the two football clubs. There's a lot of connections between Spurs and, of course, Brighton. So the first one, Jean-Paul Van Hecke, who cost Brighton just £1.8 million. And when he joined the club in 2020, signed a long-term contract that expires next summer. So he has just 1 year left on his current Brighton and Hove Albion deal. We know that Spurs are interested in the player. Roberto De Zerbi, of course, worked with Van Hecke when he was the Brighton boss, and he has just 1 year left on his current deal. So it makes it quite interesting because you're running out of time to recuperate some money. However, what we do know is that the two bids have been rejected, have been significant offers for Van Hecke. The other one that could potentially see a player going in the opposite direction is someone that's never actually played for Tottenham. Luka Vuskovic, just a 19-year-old young defender, currently at the World Cup. He was on loan at Hamburg last season. We understand that Spurs have rejected a Brighton offer of £30 million for the young 19-year-old centre-back. So they're talking, one potentially going one way, one potentially going in the other direction, but it's obviously very clear that they like each other's players. You get the sense that a deal will be done. Brighton, not always an easy side to do business with because they're very astute with what they do in the transfer market. And as you've seen from Marc Cucurella, you know, they sold him for £62.5 million. They sold Moises Caicedo for £115 million. They do drive a hard bargain, and that's why we're at a little bit of a standoff between these two right now.
Yeah, so there's plenty going on, Mark. Let's get back to our top transfer story today, and that's Marc Cucurella joining Real Madrid for a fee just under £52 million. As we promised, we can head to Madrid now. We can speak to Spanish football expert Sam Leverage. Sam, good to speak to you. Has this transfer surprised people in Spain?
Yeah, a lot. There was a lot of talk about Cucurella going to Barcelona, going to Atletico Madrid, a lot of links of him coming back to La Liga, but nobody saw Real Madrid coming. I mean, one, because of his previous past with Barcelona, coming through La Masia and the Barcelona youth system, but also because Real Madrid already have three left-backs in Fran Garcia, Alvaro Carreras, who they spent 50 million euros on just a year ago, and also Ferland Mendy, who's got a long-term injury. So plenty of options there for Jose Mourinho at left-back already.
Sam, as you've touched upon there, it's quite fascinating. They've got a number of left-backs. So will this signing excite the Real Madrid fans?
Definitely, yeah. I think all three of those left-backs have never really convinced Real Madrid fans. I mean, Ferland Mendy offensively isn't as strong as some of the others. He's had a lot of injury issues. Then we have Fran Garcia, who's had some issues and not been as reliable defensively. And Alvaro Carreras never really hit the heights that people expected of him when he first joined. So I think with Cucurella, they kind of got that proven player who's played at the elite level, shown himself. And I think fans are quite excited about that prospect. And also somebody in the Spanish national team that Real Madrid don't have any players in the Spain World Cup squad until they sign Cucurella now.
And is this part of the new Mourinho era then? Is this a Jose Mourinho signing?
That seems to be what's coming, is that Jose Mourinho has really pushed for this being kind of a problem position for Real Madrid, and he wanted it sorted quickly. We've already seen Denzel Dumfries is expected to sign Ibrahima Konate, so a lot of work going into that defensive unit for Real Madrid. And Cucurella kind of very much fits into that role of a Mourinho player who can be a player who's a bit of a nuisance, a player with lots of energy, but who more than anything is defensively strong and reliable. And that's what he hasn't really got from Fran Garcia or Alvaro Carreras, so Cucurella seems to kind of address that issue.
Could you see Cucurella going straight into that Jose Mourinho starting 11 then?
Yeah, 100%. That left back role last season never really nailed down by any of the three players in the squad. Alvaro Carreras at the start of the season under Xabi Alonso, but lost his way as the season went on. So I think for Michael Correa, it's going to be his place to lose pretty much from the start of the season. There's talk Fran Garcia could leave. He was linked with Bournemouth in a Premier League move in January. That could happen now further down the line. I think we'll still see some exits. Mendy has a long-term injury. He's not expected back until 2027 at the earliest. So I think it's Cucurella against Carreras, and Cucurella will surely win that fight.
What about other potential signings? Because we're hearing these reports that Real want Enzo Fernandez. Is that a deal that you could see happening?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Enzo Fernandez has spoken about how much he loves Spain, about how much he loves Madrid specifically before. And Real Madrid really do need to reinvigorate that midfield a little bit. When you look at kind of players that make sense, Enzo Fernandez is one of those. It's not a big transfer story. There's been too much talk or concrete speculation about in the last few weeks. But like with Cucurella, this is a story that nobody had even thought about until last night. So I think it could be another one of those deals that we might not see progress too much, but then move very quickly once it does.
Now, Sam, we're going to put you on the spot. Spain kick off their World Cup tonight against Cape Verde. Is there a feeling, we know they're one of the favourites, this could be their year?
There is. I think a lot of it's going to depend on these first few games. I mean, Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams, the two wingers, are crucial to their game plan. I mean, in the Euros, those were the two stars of the show. And I think those two, both carrying hamstring injuries, how fit they are and whether they are really match fit and how long they take to get up and running, that's going to be crucial. But I mean, the group stage starting off against Cape Verde and then following it up with Saudi Arabia, that's as good a chance as any to try and build some momentum and show what they've got.
Brilliant. Sam, thanks ever so much for coming on Sky Sports News.
Thanks.